The Bible says that it's better to be in the house of mourning than the house of feasting or celebration. Why is that? What is it that God has given us that he encourages us to be near a house of mourning, that we simply can't get in the house of celebration? Well, we're going to talk about it to understand the wisdom that comes and how it comes in this video. Hi everybody, I'm Bryan West. This is Heart of the Father Live. Thank you for joining me, and I would invite you to subscribe if you haven't yet. It really helps me out actually here on this channel, and also it's something that allows me to just lift you up in prayer. As I see your subscriptions grow, I lift up the prayer list every day. Thank you for joining me. And on this video here, we're just going to quickly talk about this idea of why. Why is it better to be in the house of mourning? You know, I remember growing up and people that I knew passing away. And it was so sad. It broke my heart. It was very hard. It was very hard to go be part of that, to be close to that. It really challenged me personally. It's not like that with everyone, but for me it did. Enough to try, and then of course going to, say, a wedding or something like this, a celebration, a holiday party, which was much more fun. So I couldn't really understand when I first read this many years ago why the Lord would say it's actually better to go be in this situation that's the opposite of fun. Why is that? Well, let's look at it. It says Ecclesiastes 7:2-4, the book of Ecclesiastes. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting. For death is the destiny of everyone, and the living should take this to heart. Now, this is powerful stuff. Again, it actually goes on. It says, the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. You know, I thought about this a long time, and what we see is, I mean, I can go over really extensive details on this, but I think I can break it down in just a practical sense. The fact is that what we see here is that the house of mourning brings us closer to the reality of death. The house of celebration does not. It actually enhances our experience of life. Now, it's not to say that the house of celebration is bad. Well, depends on what kind of celebration. Here we see that actually the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. Different than celebration. But the point here is that one takes you away from this very certain reality, and a critical reality we learn. Death. Death. The thing that no human has a solution for except for Jesus, the Christ. And so when you go to the house of mourning, you come face to face with the reality of death. And because of that, a lot of things happen that create wisdom. Things like, death is going to happen for me. What is life? What is the purpose of life then? These kind of questions brings you closer to death, causes questions, causes ideas and thoughts that you wouldn't normally have without that proximity to death. You know, the distance from that reality, almost you become distracted by other questions, maybe that are less important. And so certainly in the house of celebration, you couldn't be more distant from this reality. And so we see here, it is better to be in the house of mourning. Now, But, this is really fascinating too, because we see Jesus say in Matthew 5:4 in the Beatitudes, he kind of echoes Solomon's words, and he says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Blessed are those who mourn, they shall be comforted. Why would someone be blessed for mourning? And why would you be comforted for mourning? Now, I think that you could kind of easily say, well, this is just because you need love and God gives love. But that's, I think that, and that, I'm not denying that. That is for sure true. But in terms of echoing what Solomon was saying, that it is better to be in the house of the mourning than celebration, and this idea of being closer proximity to this reality of death, I think that similarly, when we hear Jesus say, blessed are those who mourn, is if you think about people who have experienced loss, if you've experienced loss, you realize, there is nothing that you really kind of quite care about in that moment. When you're mourning, you are not thinking about bills. You're not thinking about income. You're not thinking about food. You're not thinking about sleep. You're not thinking about that TV show. You're not thinking about the dreams and the future that you so desperately want and strive for. You're not thinking about comparing yourself to other people. You're not thinking about your failures. You're not thinking about your relationships. Nothing is in your thoughts except for your loss, the mourning. And in that place, a seeking of comfort from God. In other words, there is nothing in a place of mourning, there is nothing acting as a barrier keeping you from receiving the love of God. At any other point in life, we have so many distractions, so many barriers, so many walls, so many shiny things, so many alluring things. Every day, we're constantly in a struggle to refocus our heart, our mind, and our soul on loving God, but not when you're mourning. When you're mourning, there is nothing keeping you from your focus on needing God. Your desperation, your dependency on the heart of the Father. There's nothing. That is why those who mourn are blessed and are comforted. That's why it's better to be in the house of mourning than celebration. There's nothing keeping you from your desire to seek a God. This is a relatively short video today, but I felt it was a powerful one. One that I think if I had met myself and said, I would never want to be uncomfortable as to go to a house of mourning, I would probably explain this to them, to show them the value, not just of loving somebody, but what it does in your spirit, in your relationship with God and each other. And hopefully convince my younger self to be closer to those who are experiencing the worst moments of their life. I hope this was a blessing to you or someone that you know. And if you feel this is valuable, I would invite you to share. I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and God bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you. May He turn and be gracious to you. God bless.